welcome to Friday Facts number 414, the spoilage of agriculture. And I have my wonderful spoiled friend with me. How you doing, Mojo?
Hello. What do you mean spoiled?
You're spoiled.
Spoiled by Friday Facts. Yes, I guess.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going with that sort of spoiled, but we'll get to that in just a second. So, last week you saw how Gleba looks, and it's time to get a glimpse of what you can do there. With the idea of being a biological planet full of life, it seems reasonable that we should have biters, but we don't have biters this Friday Facts. We should expect our
was right.
Yeah, shut up. Shut up. To harvest some of that biological goodness. We already have ways of harvesting nature, specifically trees. None of us, we just hit them with an axe enough times, or later, our construction robots take care of the friendly forest devastation. Or nukes.
Or nukes. But having bots do industrial scale deforestation is also just as good.
Yeah, so does a
You
flamethrower.
can burn all that wood.
Flamethrower does a great job too. Yep.
Yeah, and then you have the bots clean up the rest, and then you burn the wood.
Yep. These tools aren't quite up to speed to be part of the mass production chain in our factories, though. Both the novice methods are initiated manually, so it's not best for automation, and the trees don't grow back. So once the area has been harvested, you need to move your operation further. I know that is so, but there are mods that let trees grow back, and I have to say, they're annoying.
They are annoying.
Fun to play with at least once, but then they're annoying. And then you go find another mod that auto marks trees for construction, and then that solves the problem. And then you're like, why didn't install the first mod? Yeah, okay. So the good news is we get a new special tower machine, I guess, on Gleba, and it automatically harvests trees in range. There are 2 plants on Gleba, which are specifically interesting, as they can not just be harvested, but also replanted by the tower. Today, we're going to have a look at one of them. And we call this, what, the red pustule plant?
Yeah, this is the red pus plant.
Yep, the red pus plant. Yep.
PP.
Yep. The tower, it's just concept art. I know that. It's still got some work to do. I'm not a fan of the arm bit. Like the stretchy bit across the top.
It's a bit simplistic. You can tell that it's doing very basic movement. Like it just reaches over and then just touches the tree and it explodes.
Yeah, the touching the tree and exploding is a whole separate issue. Okay, that's 100% a separate issue. But I'm just the arm bit sticking out. Like the top bit's fine. It's the extending bit arm. I'm just not a fan. It's too rigid. It's too something. Not a fan.
It does extendo and retracto.
Yeah, we'll see that in just a second. But no,
you can sort of see it there where it's extended and then it retracts a little bit to touch the tree.
Yeah.
It plants another tree.
But yes, this is going to pull off the red pustules, and also at the same time, as long as you put the seeds back into the seed planty harvesty tree machine, it'll plant a tiny itty bitty tree there. I do wish the tiny itty bitty tree was a bit bigger of an itty bitty tree, but sure, itty bitty tiny tree. All right.
So the claw is capable of much more, controlled and fine movements, apart from ripping an entire tree out of the ground.
Yeah, you can plant a tiny little one in its place. All right. So harvesting a plant yields fruit, which can be processed in an assembly machine into usable products and seeds. This is fruit being processed in an assembly machine, resulting in seeds, which are going back to the machine, and mash, because an assembly machine just hits things with a hammer.
Just crushes them up, just jams them into the gears of the machine. It doesn't even, it's not actually directly processing, it's not a machine that like peels them or anything. It just throws them into the gears and then the mash comes out.
Yep, and whatever's stuck at the bottom has to be a seed because it's spat out from in between the gears and it just gets pushed out the other side. Yeah, that's totally how the machine works. Okay.
Yes.
Seeds can be put back in the agricultural tower to seed a new plant. The plant will grow over time. When it matures, the agricultural tower will automatically harvest it again. Each new plant is seeded with a 3-tile gap from each other, resulting in a square pattern. This contributes to the process, the entire process of feeling artificial, like a plantation, rather than just wild nature. The agricultural plants can only be seeded on very specific tiles, which I do think is cool. It's very, very cool.
It forces you to use the specific land you're given on Gleba. Actually, in looking at that, I hadn't realised it, but until now, this is actually landfill with moss on top.
It is. We can
seen the
see,
crosshatch.
yeah, the crosshatch brown here. And it does mean that, yes, later on, once you get some research done, you'll be able to plant, I guess, your own forest where you want.
Potentially put it on other planets. I wonder. Pontificate.
Ooh, I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it. We're going to get more into that in a second. But yes, we can see from this animation the plantation is very square and quickly gets decimated by Mr. Planty Tree. Yeah. I'm still not a fan of the arm. Like, the top part, perfect. Great. I'm really, really happy. The top part is awesome.
Call it the toucher, because it touches trees and they explode.
The touchy part, I'm not happy with. Yeah.
I like how it extendos all the way out.
I look.
You get to see it extending all the way now.
Well, it's 3x3. Is that what they said, right? 3-tile gap.
Yep, 3x3 grid for each tree.
Yeah.
In a square pattern. It's not really clear how far it is. It seems to be 3 trees out from the tower, which is what, 3, 6, 9.
Well, we've got one more way out here. So yeah. So that's gonna be 3 down, 6 down, 3, 6, 9 across.
Yes, so 9 and then 9.
18 by 18 grid.
Plus itself, so that would be...
Yeah, a little bit.
Effectively 21, but 18 usable.
Yeah. It does bring up a very interesting fact that up until now, trees have been the true enemy of all Factorio players, and now you need to replant them.
Now they're your friends.
No. They're a product in an ingredient in a recipe. They're not a friend. Don't go that far. They're a product.
To be fair, though, these aren't normal trees. So normal trees are still the enemy. These are fruit trees, which are not the enemy. So trees...
They're pus trees.
Tree trees are the enemy, and fruit trees are the friends.
They're pus trees.
The fruit pus trees.
Yeah, they're pus trees that we're going to hit with a hammer. All right, which brings us to the very unique structure for Gleba, that is the Biochamber. It's used to process all the plant fruits into more industrial products like carbon fiber or a mysterious material we call bioflux, but more on that later. So, biochambers are doing some processing. We have the white stuff at the top, which we will come back to. Actually, no, it's written right here. Quirk of the biochamber is it needs to be fed nutrient to operate. So nutrient is the white stuff at the top, also the white stuff at the bottom. Then we have seeds, mash. Mash is the orange stuff.
Which was made in the, mashed up in the assembly machine earlier.
Yep. Run through the gears. And then we have the green stuff, which we don't know what that is. That could be the bioflux.
That's my theory, is that it's the bioflux.
It could be. I'm really hoping the bioflux is something that's akin to lube. I want something that I can, as you mentioned earlier, Dyson Sphere-like, that you can use to, make a product, make a machine, make something go faster. I can put it in a tank or in a train.
Maybe it helps with quality.
Maybe?
Because it hasn't mentioned it specifically yet, we'll get to it, is that this is very entwined with quality.
Yes. It's going to lead into some parts of quality, mainly recycling parts of quality. But yes, I'm hoping the bioflux does something. I really like just a boost. I want to have a boost to things. Yes. That's what I want bioflux to do. So unlike the foundry and electromagnetic plant, the biochamber isn't really used for any novice recipes. It has their own set of recipes, which basically replace oil processing on this plant. So there's no oil on this planet, but with plants, you can get plastic and carbon fiber.
My other thought is that bioflux is maybe the universal catalyst that you turn into the different oil products.
Maybe.
Because the only clue that you have to this is that in this animation,
the right-hand one
machines on the right are producing plastic using the green globs.
Use the green stuff.
The green jelly cubes.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that I have that sort of suggests that. I mean, that could also be a different product entirely.
It could be.
It could, yeah, but because we don't really know.
So then, because everything is plant-based, you're gonna have a problem, and that is spoilage.
It's got to rot.
It's
a lump of rot pile.
It is the moldy planet. Sorry, the forestry planet. The moldy planet. No, the moldy planet. Yeah, definitely the moldy planet.
Mushroom planet.
Yeah.
The Rift Breaker Swamp Planet.
Swamp Planet, yeah. So when so we're gonna have spoilage, which is gonna make things interesting. It also means that not only do the fruits have spoilage, but most biological products as well. So I'm assuming our plastic doesn't spoil, but maybe it does. Yeah.
I can't see plastic changing. And we do know, so from the Reddit, we do know that most of the end products don't spoil.
Most, but not all of them.
No,
Not all
we're
of them.
coming to that.
The process is inevitable and can't be delayed. However, different items have different spoilage times, ranging from about 2 hours to mere minutes, which is going to suck. It means there are ways to control the mechanic, optimize to getting less spoiled product in the end. So here, it's not about trying to make as much as possible, but it's trying to be, well, really, it's just in time delivery method. So you're just making enough of what you need, so it's instantly processed and you don't have large amounts sitting around on belts doing nothing. By the same token, if it's automated, who cares? Who cares if you have a large amount of stuff that gets spoiled? It's not going to matter.
Nearly every time you can just sledgehammer your way through it just by brute force. But I have a feeling that, I say have a feeling, the more that I've seen Kavora comment on it is that he's trying to make a process that you can't just brute force through like we normally do.
Yeah, well, comes back to the original, the space exploration mod, where you had the robot attrition thing, where robots would fall out of the sky and randomly crash due to, well, age and ionic effects and blah, 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 on different planets. And I said many times, I just brute force my way through it. I'm just like, that's the cost of business.
It was dumb and didn't really contribute anything other than randomly making you jump when a bot explodes.
No, I'm used to explosions going off left, right, and center. It didn't do anything for me.
It doesn't do anything, no.
So, the reason why you optimize a better product is because the recipe inherits the freshness from the ingredients. This means when you craft a product out of a 30% spoiled ingredient, the product is also 30% spoiled. Now, one question I haven't been able to find, and I've looked on Reddit and I've looked on the forums, there doesn't seem to be an answer yet, but here we're crafting a product from 2 items that spoil. And my question is, do we have 2 items, say, a 40% and a 60%, and do they average together? So we end up with 50% spoiled? Or do we take the least spoiled item and that comes out as, the new spoilage for the new item? Or does it take the trait from the most spoiled item?
I imagine, I was originally thinking averaging, but it actually, because of recycling, it'd actually make more sense to take the worst case of the 2. So the most spoiled becomes what the product is.
It would make sense, because that's how things work generally in real life. If you have, if you're cooking and you have something that has, only a 10-day shelf life, and you have something else that has a, 3-month shelf life, then the end product you have has normally a 10-day shelf life. So
it's going to taste like the thing. If you have something which has a short shelf life and you cook it near the end of it, it's going to taste like you cooked it with something with an item near the end of its shelf life.
Yeah.
It also makes sense to take the most spoiled value into the item, because this whole process is about maximizing the speed of your production line.
Yes.
So
having
minimizing spoilage at every step
is going to be very, very important.
Is the reward.
Yeah. Which brings us to our interesting pack. Interesting item. Effectively, the spoiled items need to be received as temporary, and as throughput matters, which is a contrast to buffering, which we have in Factorio currently. Whilst we consider the idea of timed life for items, well, the first question was whether we should just, I don't know. It doesn't say. The science pack. Where's the science pack?
Down a bit.
Down a bit. Okay. We're making science packs. Science packs are going to spoil. Very, very important. That's going to be an issue. All right. So, spoiled items. So, we're considering the idea of a time life for items. One of the first questions is whether they should just disappear or turn into something. If they disappeared, it would be more convenient. You wouldn't need to worry about the piles of spoilage you're inevitably going to accumulate, but you wouldn't know that something is spoiled as there'd be no trace of it. This is why spoilage exists. We have multiple methods to get rid of it. You could burn it, waste and recycle it, or create nutrients. So nutrients are the white things that need to go back into, well, the new magical machine for this particular planet, which is like fuel. Yeah, but it's already half spoiled. But as long as you're priority putting it into the belt, that's probably going to be fine.
It's probably fine. I suspect at the end of the day, you probably need to jumpstart the process with spoilage as well.
Well,
Wouldn't surprise me.
Are some, the devs already said there are some recipes that require spoiled items. So you're going to need to have a certain amount of products spoiled no matter what. And then after you've got, well, at least spoilage you can buffer. But after you've got that, you can then, yes, choose whatever you've got left and get rid of it. Now, of course, you can burn it in a boiler, which will create power, which is really handy. Also, we've already looked it up and double-checked. It's 3 radars per steam engine to, well, in an isolated power network, will just make the steam engine run flat out and just waste all that power. So that's
potentially you might even need to power your planetary factory off spoilage as well.
You could probably, depending on how much you get and how quickly it burns, etc. That incentive is going awfully quickly. So yes, as for the recyclers, you're going to get 25% of the product back out. Technically, you can get it upgraded from, rare to not so rare to a little bit better to eventually legendary spoilage, which is probably going to be important. But also...
sure it is. Legendary spoilage.
Also, yes. But it is going to delete 75% of the items each time you run through a recycler. So that is an option. Definitely an option. And yes, you can also make the fuel out of it. So I think priority 1 will be fuel. Priority 2 would be some sort of recycler looping system to try and get that legendary spoilage that you can save for later, because it can't spoil any further than it's spoiled. Yeah. And then whatever else gets just burnt. I think that'll be my answer. To avoid this mechanic being over the top and allow for meaningful decisions to be made, there are some items where their freshness doesn't contribute to the final product, as the final product is something that isn't spoilable. On the other hand, the new agricultural science packs do spoil, which reduces their value for research. So you'll be incentivized to try and bring them home the freshest science packs you can. Which brings me to a new question. So we have the lava science. We also have the sparky science. We now have the moldy science. We're going to have the icy science on the next planet. We're assuming. But
assuming it's icy.
Yeah, we're pretty confident, even going from the very early images that were released. But
oh dear. If there's icy science, does that mean you need to rush it home and use it before it defrosts?
Well, that's also the problem with this one. You're going to have to bring this one home as well.
Yes.
Because this implies that you cannot bring all the other science packs to this planet. Like, we've just assumed...
said you can't bring everything else to this planet, but it's sort of implied as that you're so invested in the Navis research base that you can't bring everything else here.
Well, we've just assumed that you can build the labs on any planet you want and just ship the science to that planet. So my plan was always like, get to the lava planet. And I'm just going to ship all the science to lava and process on lava. Actually, probably if lava's going to be the first planet, probably not.
Probably not the lava one.
But probably this one, if this has a time of life thing, then I'm definitely going to...
Realistically, if this is the only one that expires, you could actually ship the lava science back to Nervis and then to Moldy World. And just ship them all in one go.
So have everything shipped to Narvis, have it operate as a hub, and then ship everything to here.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an option. But it is implying that we can't just move our labs here and bring all the other stuff with it. So it also implies that we're going to need to make express ships, because they did mention, like when they first talked about spaceships, that you could make some design choices, whether you want to have a big bulky ship that had lots of storage and lots of abilities to make things, or whether you want a fast ship. And if we have moldy science that's going to, decay, and also icy science that's going to melt, although probably won't melt in space. Should just point that out
probably
there.
Probably won't melt in space. Just sitting on the belt, it'll melt over time.
Yeah. Yeah, it does mean that maybe you have to make a very, very fast, very, very volatile ship that you probably need to load up with resources at both ends, because it's probably not harvesting enough in space to maintain itself. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, okay. So there's some items and recipes with spoilage ingredients that need to be crafted on different planets. So on top of optimizing the production chain, it is also meaningful to make a fast-spaced platform to deliver them. Yep, just said that. The main tools for manipulating spoilage are inserters, with their new ability to prioritize the freshest or the most spoiled items when picking out from inventories, filling out and filtering out spoilage with splitters. That was another thing we looked up. If you have multiple items in your inventory, they don't all have different spoilage markers and have different stacks. It's like, well, damaged walls, damaged guns, whatever. They sort of average them out in your inventory, but only in a player's inventory. I think in a box's inventory, it might have a couple of stacks.
Probably this. I mean, an inventory is an inventory.
Yeah, but boxes are slightly different.
Yeah, it's more or less handled the same.
Okay. So design journey. Over the time we've been developing the Gleba gameplay, it went through some drastic changes. Initially, we had about 10 plants, which were harvested directly into items like plastic and sulfur. It just became very broad, but very shadow and tedious as a result. It is worth nothing that it wasn't very interesting either, as basically how a mining drill works. Instead, we reduced 2 plants to cultivate, and their fruits are processed into a much wider variety of items, also in a much higher volumes, which restored the feeling of it being a factory in the way we know and love. The seeds are not useful for new plants, not only useful for new plants, but also for creating biochambers and seedable soil tiles. So there's some decisions to be made where you invest them. Obviously in a replanting number 1, and then make more of them.
Yeah, make more. Replant more, so you make more, so you replant more, so you make more, and then
eventually you can have
an infinite supply of
yeah,
soil.
plenty of biochambers, providing that you can claim the territory from the biters that we haven't been explained in this Friday Facts. Conclusion: there are no biters. All in all, we're confident the gameplay of Gleba is different enough to be interesting, yet builds similar enough to principles to feed familiar and well actively be fun. The visuals are still subject to change, along with improvements to some effects. The graphics of new machines you can see here come primarily from our usual suspect Erendel on concept art, with Jersey taking care of the 3D pipeline. The agricultural tower has a very long telescopic arm, which I like, but I don't like the little dangly grabby bit.
Grabby bit?
Yep.
Needs more chainsaws. Needs just to be covered in chainsaws.
Yeah, chainsaw on one side, little dainty planty arm in the other.
That's actually the first thing I thought as well, is instead of having a counterweight, is you have it as 2 different arms that do 2 different
Oh, I like that.
So one side is just full of chainsaws and the other side has the grabby arm for planting.
I like that. That seems very Factorio-esque. Just like
that would make more, or even just 2 of them, one stacked on the other, one grabby claw with
2 separate
chainsaws.
Two separate arms.
A second arm which spins underneath it for planting.
A very little dainty, like fine control little arm, and the other one is just over the top with,
it's just
5 chainsaws.
Monstrosity.
Yep.
That rips the tree out of the ground and then just chops it up and sucks it into it like an internal conveyor belt. It's just covered in chainsaws.
Yep.
And circuits. Oh, like the what was that James Bond movie? The one with the helicopter with the million saw blades on it.
Oh, I don't know.
Tomorrow Never Dies, I think.
Maybe one of them. This is why we have the comment section.
It's the oil pipeline one.
Somebody's going to say straight away, as soon as you said James Bond helicopter chainsaw saws, somebody's already like banging away in the comments exactly what movie it is. I don't remember. Okay.
The world is not enough.
I couldn't tell you. Like they're all.
Tomorrow Never Dies is the news one, the Fox News one.
No, they're all the same to me at this point.
And GoldenEye is GoldenEye.
They're all the same to me.
And Die Another Day is the stupid surfing one.
Okay, you keep saying things and none of it. Like I remember Fast and Furious did a thing on ice as well. All right, and they've done a surfing one.
Movie it happened in because it's all just a blur.
Yeah, they've done a surfing one as well. What else did you mention? Helicopters with blades. Probably. I haven't watched all the
with like a million saw blades on it.
Yep, probably. I haven't watched all the Fast and Furious because every single time I'm like, I've watched them all, and then I find out there's like 4 more have been released or something.
4 more have been it.
Yeah. So yeah. So, back to the Friday facts. Agriculture, the long telescopic arm, technically demanding to make both for Jersey and Lou, breaking their brains with the drawing code. The Biochamber is more straightforward, but Jersey had a field day with these crazy geometry node simulations. And there are lots of more details to share, but we'll have to wait for them. The Biochamber, we're just assuming it's the fluidy in the glassy
Yeah,
bit.
I imagine it's the bottle with the fluid inside.
Yeah.
Because that's a bit unique.
Yeah, but I also wonder, like, there is. I've seen some of the original art, some of the original Blender files that they use to make the in-game assets, and they have a lot more detail than what's actually in-game. I'm wondering how much of this is lost.
Yeah, it's amazing how much detail is lost between the original drawings and the final render.
I'm even talking like older things, like the flamethrower. I have the flamethrower, gun thingamajiggy bob, a high resolution image of it in Blender, and it looks amazing. And then in game, it's like, and it's ancient. It's really, really ancient. But
with the new train, or at the time, the new trains for version 13 is that they're really high res, really detailed, and a lot of it is just lost.
Yeah. So, with the world not being enough, what is your prediction for next week?
Oh, are we going to go 3 for 3 on agricultural stuff? That's the question.
Nah, it's gonna be Bitus.
Or is it going to be something completely tangential, like completely unrelated, like some kind of, not circuit network thing, or some UI thing, something like that. So something completely unrelated. Or are we going to go 3 for 3? We'll see. Or just go back to Volcaninus.
It's gonna be what piece of legendary mold you need in an item recipe.
Oh yeah, you could go back to
Quality.
how this interacts with quality, because it's a very quality bound. It's intertwined with quality.
It is intertwined with quality, and you're gonna need legendary. You're gonna be able to make things that don't spoil, to then break them down in a recycler. At which point their ingredients might spoil, but they've been upgraded to a higher quality. And then if you don't get the other ingredients upgraded to a higher quality before they also spoil, then you can't craft the next version of the next highest quality before they possibly spoil, which means you might burn items repeatedly because they've spoiled out before you've had a chance to upgrade them, which means by the time you finally get going for that legendary, what do they say? It was like, so many different crafts, 1,000 crafts or something to get to legendary.
Like
Yep.
2,000 or something.
When a percentage of the items might spoil upon you whilst they're waiting to be crafted, it might be a lot more than 1,000. An awful lot more than 1,000.
Another thought that came to me too with this is that a lot of these circuit network improvements do benefit from minimizing spoilage. So, measuring what is on an entire conveyor belt, measuring...
Oh, yeah, probably.
Having finer control over the inserters means that you can regulate the agriculture tower a lot more precisely. The only thing I don't know about is interplanetary circuit network. So we have the radar, which can transmit the circuit network over the...
It's going to be a bigger radar, I guarantee you. It's going to be a bigger
radar. Maybe that's something we'll see, so that we can send a signal back to the...
Send us a signal back to Narvis. Hey, Narvis, incoming! We've got moldy science you need to catch. And have it processed now, before it goes off.
Narvis says, no more moldy science, please, and it stops mining and reduces spoilage. But it's probably not necessary as well, because...
but if you let it spoil, you've got a better chance of getting a legendary spoilage to make your legendary thingamajiggy bob from a spoiled item and having it spoil around into the spoilage of the legendaries. Yes.
Here's the thing. The other thought is that, does it really matter if science packs spoil on Gleba moldy planet? Why not just... because they cost nothing. It's just fruit.
Oh, they cost time, they cost space, they cost...
Time and space is... time is a resource in Factorio, but that can be saved by making more.
They cost time, they cost space, and the biggest problem is you don't know what's stopping you just expanding over the whole planet. Hence why the biters are super important. The biters is what
You
limit
really
you.
want the biters.
Well, I do. But the biters is what limits the player. Otherwise,
I wonder if any of the developers watch this.
I know they have previously, but that
And they're just holding out on the biters just to cuck you.
probably. But the biters are what limits you. Otherwise, like every single time you start a new game of Factorio, right? Just put something on the D up button, the A button, the whichever button, and just walk 10,000 tiles to the right, left, up, or down, and have patches that are 5 times as big and 10 times the richness, and then start your base there. Don't bother with your starting patch. It's not worth it. Just spend an hour walking, and then have something that's way more potent to start with, or just get to train tracks. Get to train tracks, just build a train, and just take whatever you can. Start again 10,000 tiles from spawn, and have bigger, denser patches to start with, which means less outposting.
Know that there will be biters discussed in the future on multi-planet.
I'm hoping there are biters on all the planets, and the biters are what limits the player. The biters, it's what limits the player. It's what forces the player to do upgrades, and put some sort of pressure on the player to not just AFK for the next 10 hours while something happens. Satisfactory, you can finish the game by just making like 10 machines and just, oh, okay, well, I've got the next science thingy running, the next component I need to launch the next thingamajiggy bob. I'm just going to duck off for an hour and leave one machine to do it.
I reckon they're going to hold out on the biters until
right before release.
The very end.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because it's entirely possible that they have already planned out a complete overhaul of combat, like completely redone how biters / whatever the enemy is, your the thing that opposes your factory, the force that opposes your factory on every planet, like they've completely remapped it. Instead of just being biters on every planet, they've got different concepts that oppose you.
Lots of people turn off the biters because they don't like them. Right.
It is a bit bland in its current form, and I think, given that this is really trying to turn the concept on its head, instead of having maximum volume brute force, is that you really got to optimize for time, and delivering things as quick as possible. Maybe the similar sort of, not the same sort of thought, but a similar sort of approach is taken with biters, where you bring it into bring a whole new concept in.
Look, I don't disagree, and I'm for anything, okay? But I don't want the game to end up like Satisfactory, where, well, I've got one machine doing it. I'm good. I've seen people play Factorio for the first time, and they only ever built one machine making red science. And then they complain, why is this taking so long? I've been doing this science for half hour. Is it still working? And the answer is, you only built one machine. It's running at the speed of 1. You want to run faster? Build 10. And then it happens at the speed of 10.
I think that's a separate issue where you come from something like Minecraft, where you only have one machine.
Well, that's true.
I certainly ran into that problem when I first started playing, because my main experience. Well, this game is actually Factorio is actually derived from Minecraft.
Yeah, not disagreeing but I've seen lots of people that's as far as they get, and that works, and you can play the whole game like that if biters don't exist. You need something to push back.
Once upon a time, 4 assembly machines making red science used to be considered a lot.
Yeah, I remember those days. I do remember those days. Okay, I do remember those days. All right, that was like the gold standard.
It was 4 was considered the standard, up to 4. Anything more than 4 was considered a lot.
Yeah, 4 was like one per the 1 per minute, 1 per second mark that we have nowadays.
5 is 1 per second. It's 5 red, 6 green.
Yeah, but back then you only needed
30,000 blue.
Oh yeah, but also red science used to craft faster back then, didn't it?
No, it's still the same.
There was less red science.
Science was just so short that you didn't really need
it.
Because it only went through 4 packs.
Yeah.
And even then, you get through most of the science with the first 3.
Yeah, and purple science, which was biter science, was really late game. Also want to have biter science. Okay, that's it. Next week's Friday Facts, hopefully there'll be biters. And Mojo's answer is it'll be anything but biters, probably something out of left field that we've covered before.
It'll be something mundane.
To this.
I'm expecting something mundane, but you are right at the same time that maybe that will intertwine this with quality again.
Yeah, well, they've already mentioned it on Reddit that there's going to be different aspects of quality with this. I have no idea how a quality tree grabby thing is going to work. I have no idea if I can get quality seeds to make quality pustule trees.
We'll take it as the first one thing I said. That way, I'm not shotgunning every possible answer.
Yeah.
and saying I'm right no matter what.
That's
Got
what
to pick one.
That's what you my partner's birthday. I shotgun 15 different presents, and I got one of them right, at least one. Anyway, with all that said and done, we're going to shotgun the end here. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you next week. All right, bye.
Bye bye.